or whether or not, as they put it, we're going to get to see Alliance bring their B game and then just rip through another team and stomp their way through to playoffs that way.
Yeah, so we've seen their C game according to what they've been saying for the entirety of Polaris so far. I am wondering, what is their A game? I'm looking forward to that one. So they might have to bring that out here today against TUNDRA, because TUNDRA is just one of those really strong teams. But Alliance, let's start talking about them. Let's start talking about the undefeated beast here in Polaris, holding on to that #1 spot, and they don't want to go anywhere. They've had a phenomenal run. They have dominated the leaderboard, and they're just holding on to that undefeated score. And we can't really talk about Alliance without mentioning Hype, and I feel like we said this time and time again. He's been called out as the MVP of Polaris so far, and he's really, really showing us exactly what he's made of. But the rest of the team, they have just been just as instrumental in securing those wins, and you can tell they have spent a lot of time playing together, and they really built up that trust.
Yeah, I mean, undefeated for a reason. These guys look so strong. And yes, I am thoroughly looking forward to getting to see Hype back in action. More on that in a little bit, but we do have to mention all of these other players, right? Lucca is absolutely terrifying. This guy just picked up Neon the first week, the first day of Polaris, out of the gates onto Haven, and looks absolutely seamless on it. He is so strong, so aggressive, no matter what agent he plays. But I've got my fingers crossed that we do get to see the Neon come through, because we've got to cast Alliance before, but I am yet to get to cast the Neon, and it is all that I want. I have a checklist for everything that I want to see in Polaris, and in big capital letters, just right at the top, it is just Lucca Neon. That is the only thing that exists on that page currently.
Well, who knows? You even have Haven behind you as the backdrop. You're just making sure all the stars align. Alliance get that Haven map, they pull out that Neon, and Moxie gets to just tick off one of those check boxes on her checklist. And honestly, Liquor looked really, really good on the Neon, and I think that's just one of those curveballs that Alliance can and will throw at you. We've mentioned it before. So far, they've been playing incredibly well, and you can really tell they've played together for a really long time, and they've had a lot of strategies down near their pocket. You might have to look for them a little bit, but if they have to, they will just whip them right out, and you're just gonna be like, oh, that just happened. Not entirely sure what I'm gonna do against that. But they're up against TUNDRA, team #2 so far in the standings, and as they mentioned themselves, it is one of those teams that they are a little bit worried about. TUNDRA really proved themselves against Excel. They didn't manage to win against Tenstar, however, last week, but they're currently in a second spot, tied with Excel 4-2. Seems like they might have that fourth spot secured, but it's really about holding on to that second place here with this game specifically, as both Tenstar and Excel still have one more game to go, and this is the final game for TUNDRA. Every single player on this team has been phenomenal. Their games have been incredible, whether it's Yassine on the Jett or Kragan on the Breach, as we so much love to talk about. It really doesn't matter, because this team just seems to have been so comfortable with each other. And last but not least, I don't think we can take this away, but their coach Salah has been putting in all the work behind the scenes and really giving this team a chance to succeed.
Yeah, TUNDRA, of course, I'm sure everyone will recognize under the name Yonk, picked up. The announcement came through 2 days before Polaris's first day, and they have absolutely impressed. They came here, you can tell they really do just want that spot in the VCT Promotion Tournament, and they have the mechanical skill, the prowess, the utility usage, everything going for them. So for me, for TUNDRA, like, their biggest challenge and the true test to see whether or not these guys are ready to move on up is going to come in the form of this match. And it is a match that I have been waiting for a very long time, because we can talk about it. It's not going to be the mirror counters that I think is going to really decide this match. I think it's going to be who's able to find more value, whether it's going to be Kragan on the Breach or whether it's going to be Hype on the Cypher, because these two actually have a very similar playstyle. They go on rocket trip magic mystery trips. These guys just pop up in the absolute most unexpected spaces. I swear, on Breeze alone, Hype is just a shinobi master at being able to pop up where you least expect a Cypher to be. And Alliance are really good at being able to sort of condition teams into expecting Hype to be behind them or around them, and they have to check the corners, because obviously if you don't check your corners in Valorant, you're dead. And the second, the one round that Hype isn't there, when they actually go to check it, is when there's a sky instead. And that's the true oh no moment that every single player who has gone against Alliance has had to find themselves coming up against. But Kriegon on the Breach, he does the same thing, except this time he's got things like flashes and fault lines. So if Hype and Kriegon just meet in the middle and have that duel that we're all waiting for, I just really hope that we get to see the Cypher still flashed, still concussed, being able to land those shots, because I think if anyone can do it, Hype can.
Yeah, I think both of these players meeting up, and they're both on a trip, and unfortunately there's going to be an intruder every now and then, and they're just gonna have to take each other out. And I think that's gonna have such an interesting dynamic on the playstyle from both teams, because of course Alliance is gonna be aware that this is the way that Kriegon likes to play. Of course Tundra is gonna be aware of exactly how Hype likes to play the game, and they're gonna have to calculate that, put that a little bit into their strategy, make sure they're aware of exactly what is going on. I mean, you can send both players on a trip, and maybe one of them will come back alive, maybe one of them won't return ever until the next round, but I guess we'll never know until it actually happens. But it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to. Another thing that I'm looking forward to, however, is the map pick. So we got Haven, it's something that you really want to see. I am expecting Fracture to maybe be banned. Yes, Tundra, they did look really strong on that Fracture, but out of the last 3 games that they've played on it in the last couple of 3 months, they've only won 1 game, and that was when Yasin was running that Neon. Now, we've also seen Alliance run the Neon on Haven. We haven't seen it on Fracture just yet, so it's a question of whether or not they, want to take that gamble, they want to try and play that Fracture or not. I want to say Haven might be banned from the side of Tundra. It might not be. It's one of those maps where the first game of Polaris went a little bit of an oopsie, to say the least. And it's a question of whether or not Tundra feels comfortable to be potentially receiving the same end, or if they really just want to be like, yeah, guys, we're the better team. We'll just show you that we cannot get 13-0'd.
I mean, it's a statement, right? If you keep Haven in the map and then you're able to get a couple of rounds or even take the map. I'm expecting Breeze. I hope that we get to see Breeze. Breeze is where both of these teams really do get to go for those Stalker shenanigans, where you do see just the magical mystery tours, especially in mid. Just watching Kriegon just move through mid and then move into B elbow, and it's something. You just watch the little mini map dot. I feel like we need just a walking counter in the side of the screen of the display, just tracking the steps of those 2 players alone to see how much distance they actually cover on some of these maps that are very sizable, right? And I think that is one of the worries that you do have to think about on Haven, right? Losing track of either of those 2 on a map where there are 2 sites to juggle, kind of scary. Losing track of them on Haven, where there are 3 sites and plenty of angles, plenty of really punishing corners where you can set up baits and trades. Absolutely terrifying. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do see Haven getting taken out of the mix early too.
Maybe we just have like a step counter on these players. We drag like the mini map onto like half of the screen, and everybody's just going to be focusing on that rather than the game that's actually happening. But before we go any further with these, I don't even want to call them predictions, but we're going to be looking at the map veto and the picks and bans that have been coming through. So far, we're going to be able to see that Haven actually has been chosen by all Alliance. It was not banned out. Breeze, as you mentioned, you are going to be able to see that as well, and Ascent. So I just want to say, Moxie, first of all, any surprises in terms of the picks and bans here?
Fracture. Honestly, going out of the way, both of these teams, I mean, we talked about it, we might have seen Fracture coming through, but it's actually Tundra who bans it rather than Alliance. So you do sort of see the sort of ruminations that, yes, they had a really strong Fracture showing, but before, when they've previously been on it, maybe they don't feel quite as comfortable. And going up against a team as strong as Alliance, you want to go for something where you just have that comfort pick coming through. You don't want to be that inconsistent team coming through where you are relying on Yasin to be able to get that space and do so much with the Neon that opens up all of the rest of the doors for the team, because we know that Yasin can be absolutely terrifying to play against. In fact, his strongest map in my opinion is Ascent. His Jet one is uncontested, is absolutely monstrous, and I'm sure that Alliance will be keeping tabs on him throughout the map. But I feel like Haven is going to be the one, whether we get to see whether or not Alliance is going to properly push for this match and show us the strategies that we've been seeing in the past, or whether or not they are, with their position wrapped up, they are going to move forward, they are going to be in playoffs in that #1 spot, whether or not we are going to be seeing some of those tactics held a little bit closer to the chest.
And we were able to actually get that Haven out. Now it's just a matter of whether we're going to be able to see that Neon coming through. We know that Bird teams are comfortable with the Neon. Bird teams have played it before. Tundra, more so on Fracture rather than on Haven, but I feel like if you can make it work on Fracture, if you've put in the time and you were planning on leaving Haven as one of the maps that are open, you might be pulling it out on Haven as well, and we might be seeing some Neon on Neon violence coming through, maybe not, but I think throwing it back to this Haven map here, we said leaving it open is more of a statement from the side of Tundra. We know how good Alliance is on this map. We know how comfortable they are on this map. We know how good their strategies are. But that also kind of brings forward, Tundra has been able to look at how Alliance plays this map. Tundra has been able to have a little peek through the hole in those strategies that Alliance has been able to pick up and implement in their gameplay. So I think this can go either way. Just looking at the win rates from both teams actually in the last 3 months, they are identical on both Haven and Breeze. So I think this is looking like it might go all the way down to Ascend. It's looking like, a couple of overtimes, left, right, and center. Who knows? But how are you feeling now that you've seen the maps that these players have picked? And if you have to throw out a prediction, we know that most of talent went with Alliance, but now that we've slowly getting into the nitty-gritty of things, who do you think, or how long do you think these games are going to be taking?
So I think we're either going to see a very quick series, or we're going to be seeing a lot of overtimes and a third map. I don't think it's really going to be going for a sort of middling ground series. It's one extreme or the other. And I'm saving my prediction. I'm saving who I'm going to shout out as the victor until I see the Asian picks coming through. I'm going to say that right now. My heart goes with Alliance. My head goes with Alliance. I do want to see Tundra being able to properly challenge them and get that progression that we do know these guys can hit. They've put in so much work coming through. Tundra looks absolutely unrecognizable from their first week. They had a little bit of a stumble, a little bit of a rough start. They did struggle a little bit against 10-star, but against Excel, who we all expected to win, they were able to actually come out on top. And I think that's what's throwing a lot of people off, because it's a sort of rock, paper, scissors, isn't it? Where 10-star beats one team, and then 10-star beats Tundra, and then Tundra beats Excel, but then Excel beats 10-star.
So it's like a try.
And then we've got Alliance just waiting to be like, like that one kid in the playground being like rock, paper, scissors, and then they would just like volcano or something. Like they would always just come in and immediately veto over everything that you'd done. That's the real team that Alliance feels like right now.
Yeah, and I think looking at the game so far, the maps, the wins that have been coming through for these teams, I think it's also really important to note that this is going to be the final game for Tundra. And as we mentioned before, XL and 10-star, they both still have one game in this week. So there's a game from XL against H2O, there's 10-star against London Esports, and 10-star said they're feeling very comfortable for that game, and I would assume the same from the side of XL. So if Tundra does lose this game, the series here, and they're gonna be dropping to that 4th place. So for them, it's a matter of holding on to that 2nd place, whereas for Alliance, it's gonna be a matter of whether or not they want to show us, yes, we are undefeated, we are the undisputed kings of Polaris. This is, we didn't come here to play, we came here to secure that playoff spot. But yeah, so far from the Agents pick, I think this is pretty standard, something that we definitely did expect to see. How are you feeling about this? Do you want to throw out the prediction now, Moxie?
I mean, it's going to be Haven. One team's running a Jett. That's the big difference. Alliance are the only team who are going to have the Jett on board. Tundra are actually opting to put Yassine on that Raze. And I mean, you do have Kragon on the breach, making it a little bit harder for Lucky to be able to find that space, but at the same time, Zik is going to be there on the KO, playing a very similar role, right? If you try and go a little bit too aggressive, that KO is going to immediately be able to drop the punishment hammer in terms of the flash drive and fragments, which can be so key in setting Lucker up to come in and get picks. Look at how aggressive that is. Flash drive comes through, Lucker immediately dashes into garage, doesn't manage to find the pick. The Boombot is actually going to buy Yassine the time to be able to back safely out of that engagement, but he goes back through.
Yeah, Pain Shell's not causing too much damage either. Lucker's just like, okay guys, I'm just gonna be here making a little bit of noise, I'm gonna back off again. And in the meantime, the rest of the team, they have their eyes set on that B side. They want that B side under the Alliance banner. They want to get that plant down, and they're actually successfully going to do so. They're then going to back off. It's planted for window. They can just sit around, wait around for Tundra to try and get the diffuser. Meanwhile, Lucker is still dead set on Garage. He is waiting for those rotations to come through. If anything, he is expecting them to come through. It looks like he's reading them like a book. 20 HP on Yassine gets tagged initially, but both Lucker and Cider getting one pick each. They were able to predict from where Tundra is coming from, and the numbers are dropping left, right, and center. Machina gets one, but it doesn't matter as Zik comes through with that trade, and Alliance secure that pistol round.
Oh, and there's a beautiful suppression as well coming out from Zik, so that Tundra can't use the utility that they have available to them on that B site to spam Alliance out and let themselves safely go for that defuse. And now we are going to be seeing Lucker forcing up onto the Marshal. In fact, I think we might even get to see a little bit of a replay. Yeah, Lucker just getting to hold this angle, making sure that everyone comes out from garage, that you just immediately pick them out. And so all of the members on Tundra are just forced to shoot into main, into that courtyard area. And Alliance able to come out on top, setting themselves up to be able to take this round. Marshall going to be in the hands of Lucker. Keep an eye on Tundra because they are going to have to go a little bit aggressive. Look how far Yassine has actually pushed all the way through from C long. But Lucker doesn't worry about that. It's going to be the A push coming through as Lucker gets a little feeling that someone's probably going to be around the corner with a shotgun. Neela is actually looking at the camera right now, sees the Jett, knows that they're coming through, shot comes out, and that's immediately an exit made from Lucker.
Yeah, but Zing on the other hand, just going crazy with that Spectre. The Bulldog on hype also paying off. They've managed to just pick up everyone else that was on the side, whilst Neela was having the cameraman POV. As Yassine wants to come for that reinforcement, the Bulldog finds his forehead, clicks right on it, and it's round number 2 secured for Alliance. And the distraction that Lucker put onto Nile as he was looking at that camera, as he was trying to get that trade, it just gave Alliance such a beautiful opening to just run onto that site and be like, okay, hi guys, hi, we're here, this is our home now.
And that's the beauty of the Jett, the distraction.
Yeah.
You draw so much attention away from the rest of your team that even if you're not coming up in the kill feed, even if you're not actively being able to pull off those aces and those early kills, you get so much done that the rest of the team are just, they've got so much space to work with. And for TUNDRA, that's not really going to be available. The only way that you're going to be able to keep a wrap on Lucker early on, unless you push forward this aggressively, is if it's Kriegon who's the one that the Jett runs into, which is why the Cypher now is actually all the way on that C site. And it is going to be a very fast rotation coming out from Tundra onto the A, making sure that they can catch Alliance off before they can get this spike down. No one wisely going to be in heaven right now because Lucker does have an absolute eyeful of that space. 0 Point comes through, is going to get a little bit of information away, actually sets Lucker up to be able to pick Yassine out of that fight. And still, Alliance not pressuring this A side. They've made so much noise. They've completely sold Tundra on the fact that it is going to be an A push. Look at how aggressive Tundra are getting up in heaven. Kriegon's finally going to be able to get Zik out of the way, but you still have to worry about Lucker, who does have that spike.
Yeah, spike has been dropped, and they know exactly that it's actually going to be an A push. Still, Machina has to come through with that rotation, but the Nebulas from across side, we talked about it multiple times. You can just go in Chess Master form and you just put down your Nebulas, take them back right where you want them, and you can help the team from the all the way opposite side of the world if you want to. 2v2, so 3v3 from the side of Alliance, and they do manage to take out Kriegon. They're now gonna try and get some of those guns, and Hype actually taking on Nile. Clock is taking in Machina as he's there for the reinforcement. He's making sure that the round is secured by Tundra. It's a really expensive round in terms of the amount of guns that they lost, and Alliance came through, wanted to conquer that A site, but Tundra said, nah, we're not having that today.
Still, that economy. I mean, the win, it was looking good for Tundra, and then Hype just barrels on through. Guy's MVP of the tournament for an absolute reason. I mean, Yassine just gets the head clean off. Kraken gets a really nice pick from Heaven, but you lose so many of your members that even though you take the round, remember, Alliance were on an eco. This is round 4, and we're already seeing an operator in the hands of Lucker because the Jett knows that they can get away with so much. As there isn't really anything to try and keep Lucker in position. The trapwire, when you shoot it, is going to give away your position, but you don't really care. You want someone to try and come and peek you and push into you, and poor Nile is now just going to be forced into a game of chicken. If you try and move out of cubby, the operator's going to hit you. If the operator moves a little bit too far forward, Lucker can try and get a shot, has to know that someone's there. Yeah, there's the peek. Immediately just dashes out of the way, so even if there was a player on that C site close enough to go for a trade, the Jett is just gone. Damage has been done, and suddenly Tundra's defense is barring that cipher.
Neurothrift gonna give the information through as to where the other members of Tundra are. Reinforcements being sent to C site, and as that reinforcement is coming through, Alliance decides to book it. They don't want any of that. They're feeling more comfortable with B. Maybe even that A site, who knows? That's what they want to see. And that's exactly where they're going to be going. 2 players from Tundra still on that A site. They have rotated towards there, but we also got Hype holding some of those flanks, and he might be looking to go on a trip pretty soon as the team is inching forward onto A. The line is going to come through. Gets one, gets another, gets a 3K! Cleaning up that side beautifully, giving him more than enough time to get that plant down. It's now Machina versus the world. He's tried it before. He got a couple of kills last round, but Hype is already on the journey and he catches him with his knife out. That is a flawless, side quest flawless coming through from Alliance, and they secure another round in the bag.
Welcome to how Alliance plays any map, any attack, any side. Hype, just away from everything. Still able to have such a good read, still able to just pull out the phone, look at the camera, give so much information to the rest of the team, and then, yeah, catch Machina. No one gonna be able to bring that gun through. Tundra not able to try and stabilize their economy by keeping one in the hand. It is going to be the full eco for this team to come through, and that means that they don't really have anything that can try and challenge this operator. Yassine tries to go aggressive to deny it, but that's what happens when you have a pistol and the other player is Lucker. That's a beautiful flash drive coming through. They're finally going to be able to get onto that B site. As poor Tundra have 2 players left on an eco. There isn't really anything preventing you from trying to get the guns and the kills. And you do try and want to get your economy under wraps, but I mean, Kragon is the last one to come through. Lucker will go down, but Alliance, having won the round, will be able to pick the operator up. And Kragon is just forced to try and run.
Early aggression coming through didn't fully pay off for Yassine. Wasn't able to get that operator out. Sure, Kragon did the job, but the rest of the team just going to be able to clean it up nicely, take that operator back. Plans going down for some more of those creds as well. And Alliances, I don't want to say playing ring around the rosies. This was an eco round coming through from Tundra. You kind of expected them to lose it going into it. They initially were hovering towards the A side, but once they get that first pick, they just move on to B side, and that's just the beauty of having an agent with flashes. It's kind of something we was a little lacking on Who-Cars' end last game. They just throw the flash out. The 2 members that are holding the crossfire, it doesn't matter. They're both blinded. You're just gonna run in, tap one, turn around, tap the other. That's a beautiful entry. You're right there onto that B side. You're comfortable sitting through. And speaking of comfortable, Yassine is getting comfortable on that operator, starting off the round beautifully, taking out Lucker.
And
now Alliance
immediately as well gonna make sure that if a player was there for trade, it's not going to be a Graveler comes through, but Hype not able to get the kills caught through it. Now Alliance reduced to 2 players. Tundra looking the strongest we've seen on their defense. Sick all the way on this B site, wasn't actually expected to be quite so deep. Does have both of the flash drives, so if you do try and chase that KO, there is going to be a lot in terms of punishment, which is why Tundra are being so very wary. They know that he doesn't have the spike, they know that he can't really try and get out of this space. Flash drive hits the wall, and Bonka, having wrapped around the side, is able to snare Zik. Tundra take a second round on the board, keeping the operator, but Alliance, because they've been able to spin so many rounds in a row together on the attack, so cleanly as well, when they won, they didn't really lose that many members. They will be able to go into a full buy.
Gun here.
First time so far that we've seen early aggression coming through from Tundra and that it actually played off. We saw it earlier with Yasin individually pushing out early on onto A long. Didn't get that pick on Wolf. He was the eco round, and you know, against Lucker, he has the operator. You have that classic. It's not really going to work. But this time, as the members from Alliance were looking towards setting up their utility onto A side, Rapswell is going to come through. It's going to make it so difficult. It's going to disrupt them. In the meantime, Freegun has already ran all the way up A short, and he's already made it into your face, and he's already clicking your head, and there's 2 members down. And Yasin with an operator, we've seen it so many times before, and he's so good with it. He gets Lucker out of the equation. That's already 3 members down from Alliance, and they're just not able to close out that round. Zeke did go a bit of a trip, something we kind of expected to see from a couple different members. Cosmic Divide coming up, and Yasin is holding on to that showstopper. Isn't gonna find anything as Cider gets a 2K. Zig taking out another Cider with that 4K coming through. Flawless round from Alliance, 5-2.
Yeah,
and they're really pushing on that gear.
Alliance just absolutely kick-starting the aggression. Null command is instigated by Zik. Goes in through Garage, drops the flash drive. Everyone on the side of Alliance just joins the KO, brute forces the way onto the C site. Tundra have had to clear it entirely. They're waiting in the wings. They've got the Cosmic Divide. They're hoping that Kragon can come from C long, use that breach utility, either a fault line or a flashpoint, something that jams all of Alliance up in C long and lets Tundra move out of Link. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen as Cider is able to catch so many of them. Hunter's Fury very early on is going to find Hype. Does manage to make a trade. Both of these teams now 1 down. Updraft comes over the Cypher cage. And it is just Nille stuck in a corner, trying to wiggle around. Safety dance coming through. Hunter Fury doesn't manage to take him out, but Zik is able to find the kill with the Vandal. And now this is the momentum that Alliance just thrives off of. Tundra just not able to give the time to be able to react. Stuck in a corner, so much just being pelted at them from all angles. As Alliance are so very good at absolutely denying any delay from a defense.
The util coming through, forcing Nille in a really awkward spot. Can't go left, can't go right, have to hold your angle, but Zig with that flash coming through, you're completely blind. You have no idea where you're supposed to be going. Takes your head right off, and as the rest of Tundra was onto B and A side, it allowed Alliance to get comfortably onto the C side, get the plant down, position correctly, take out the members that are trying to push you out, and third fragment's gonna come through, not gonna spot anyone. Operator in hand from Lucker. We've seen what he can do with it before, and Tundra on the eco gets a little bit of a tag off on Machina. Hype taking out Bonker. Spraying through that smoke. They have that A site on lock, and Machina wants to come through, does get spotted out by the wire, and Lucker so quick with that operator. Already 2 members down from the side of Alliance, and Fee putting Yasin down right with the rest of his teammates. Is now a 2v5. Sheriffs in hand for both Kragon and Nille. It's a matter of whether or not they'll be able to push it. They decide not to. In the meantime, Cider is looking to wrap around, going towards the B side. Nille does get Fee out of the equation, puts him down. They still have a whole lot to go, and that spike, it's ticking. Flash is gonna come out, and Zik gets another pick. Zik is on fire today, and so is Lucker with that operator. Lions win round number 9, 7-2 for them so far, and they're pressing that W key. They're not letting go of it. They know the Tundra is gonna have to have an eco round coming through. They have seen it before from Tundra. When they were on the eco round, they only had 1 player that was pushing out aggressively. In this case, it was Machina. They were able to catch him out with that tripwire. That beautiful util setting up, just securing their backs. As we have mentioned this before, players from both teams, they really like to go on trips. They really like to stumble around the map, you know, discover some new spaces, find out what's going on. And Alliance was ready for this. They were ready for it. They knew it was an eco round. They knew 1 player is going to be running around freely. And they capitalize off of it, secure a really nice round. And now Tundra's gonna buy this round, but the timeout is expected, because if they don't win this round, Moxie, their economy is not gonna look that great.
Yeah, you have to feel for Tundra, right? Just not running that Jett. It's allowing Alliance to do so much, because even if Tundra decide, okay, we'll drop a Cypher Cage or a Nebula, we'll try and be able to set ourselves up on a long, we'll make sure that Lucker's angle is entirely denied. They can't. Because what Alliance are doing, you can actually see it in the round previous. Cider uses the grav well to pull any player who could have been hiding behind those crates on ramp into potentially Lucker's operator. And so even if the smoke comes up, the grav wall is just going to secure the player, and Lucker can take the shot knowing that the smoke, despite obscuring your vision, isn't going to stop the bullet from actually connecting and hurting. And that's why Alliance are absolutely terrifying, because they don't even need to play Lucker on an off angle. They can group up with him. They can use that utility to make sure that Lucker's operator is something that Tundra really just cannot deal with. And look at how far away the defense is. They're so far away from ramps. They've entirely given up all of these entrances. Instead, they're just trying to hold around these doors, waiting for Alliance to walk into them. And already all of these shots going through the doors are forcing them further back.
Don't want to peek into that operator, and if I'm being completely honest, if I saw a Jett that was popping off in my games with an operator, Ion operator to be correct, and a riot gun buddy, it's not something I would want to peek into either. But Lucker, it's really making it work for them, and their economy is just looking so healthy. They have a lot of wiggle room to play with, and they're doing really good on this attacking half. Aldrin is gonna spot out that operator is moving through a short, and some backup is being called as Machina is rotating towards the A, but it's looking like a 5-man hit, and they're looking to overpower Tundra. Cosmic Divide is going to come through. They have at least detected Kragon on that Bruges. They know that he's playing there, but they feel comfortable to go for the plan, and Kragon is pushing right through. Service Bunker. Lucker with that operator doesn't do too much. Bunker gets a 3K secured in the back, making it so difficult for Alliance to get onto that site. Kragon finishing it off nicely, and these two players have done so well playing off that Astra Cosmic Divide and just humbling Alliance a little bit.
Yeah, so Alliance tried to use that Cosmic Divide to safely get onto that site, but Tundra actually used it. It's a double-edged sword, remember, it muffles sign cues for both teams. Machina just pops out, gets the spike, is able to find it, and then Bunker's been able to close up the distance, even with the classic. The operator is gone. You don't have to worry about these long angles, these pesky little places where Lucker can just immediately come in and find those very early aggressive picks. And that's the way that Tundra wants to play. They want to play up close. They want to make sure that you don't have the time to set up, and this is why they're going so aggressively forward. This is the most confident, aggressive, and valuable we've seen this team get through their entire defense. And we're 11 rounds in.
It looks like they're picking up the pace as they're just pushing out, and they get every single member of Alliance pulling a side quest flawless, securing another round on the board, and Tundra seems to... It seems that they like, you know what guys, we have nothing to lose, let's just push out aggressively. It's worked for us a couple of times before, why wouldn't it work right now? And Alliance doesn't seem to be expecting this kind of aggression coming through from Tundra. Tundra so far, they have played it very passively, they have waited for them to push it through, and we even said how far the defense was going just because of that operator from Lucker. But Tundra, they don't want none of that no more. They want to push out aggressively. They are done playing chicken and egg. They don't want to push into. They don't want Alliance to push into them anymore. They want to push right into Alliance. They want to make it count. And so far, they have been able to get 2 rounds back to back. But as we mentioned as well earlier, Moxie, that the economy from Alliance is. They were sitting very comfortably. They've won so many rounds. It doesn't matter too much that they've lost it. Of course, it matters in terms of the scoreboard, but they're still able to buy comfortably this round.
Well, it's good to see that Tundra aren't going for that same level of aggression. There's the null command actually coming through. Zik again just going to be brute forcing all of Alliance, that steamroll of the composition onto the B site, spike planted down, then everyone pulls back, you set up the crossfire, you have full control of courtyard and mid and link and connector, everything you could want. Lucky's even got the knives out. Machina's going to be caught. The second that you shoot that tripwire, you aren't going to be given away. Flashpoint immediately having to actually come from Kragon, expecting someone to meet them in garden. He seems going to be able to find Zik, but unfortunately you don't have the defuse going cleanly through, as Lucker just gets to use those knives. Updraft gets one with a Vandal, Hype immediately finding a second. Machina is trying to wrap around the back and try and pull that focus away, but there is no one left to actually be able to take advantage of the distraction and stick the defuse. And Alliance once more, by just using the null command and brute forcing the way onto the B side, immediately are able to take the round.
They push on to B side with that no command, as you mentioned. They still have all the utility available to them. They still have all the nebulas. They still have the Cypher cages. They still have those tripwires that are covering both angles from A and C link, just to make sure that they're cut off, just to make sure that they're not getting flanked. And once a player did flank, once those tripwires are destroyed, they know exactly where you're coming from. They know that you're heading for the back. But in the meantime, although you're trying to defuse that spike, we saw Bankar was going for the stick. Yasin was using that levitation to try and get a couple of picks. Nile was trying to trade out Bankar. Lucker through the smoke with those knives, with that Vandal, just made it so valuable. And once he wanted to go for Yasin, whose line of sight was completely cut off by those Cypher cages, he was already taken out. There was nothing to be worried about anymore because you have the numbers advantage at this point. Every player is taken out. You know the other two players are going to be coming from A and C. You're already holding your angles in the back. You have eyes in the back of your head, and you're not letting them get away with it.
Well, side top has come through. Alliance now going to be on the defense. Kragon not able to push forward, does actually manage to get suppressed. Slucker still so hard to dislodge. This is my main concern for Tundra. Alliance can pull the same shenanigans. Lucker can go forward so aggressively and look for a pick, and once again, Tundra don't really have the utility to try and keep tabs on the Jett outside of the breach, but they need to hold on to that for when they actually want to trespass onto one of these sites. And Alliance doing a very good job of just early on showing a little bit of aggression, forcing a little bit of utility out, and then pulling back to the site now that they've wasted time off of the clock. 40 seconds left. Tundra having to get aggressive, having to use that breach utility to get through. This is when Alliance pop out, when they've got utility of their own, and Tundra have nothing in the pocket.
Yeah, but Tundra's still making it work for them. They can take down 2 players. Lucker and Zik are already out. They now got that plant down. Fee is incredibly low, still waiting on the backup from Hype and Cider. Cider wrapping around, but it looks like Machina is expecting this type of play. Again, we've mentioned this before in the pre-show as well. These teams, they love to lurk, they love to flank, they love to come through. When you least expect them, Hype not gonna find the initial attack off on Yasin. They are playing hell. And they're just putting in so much patience. Yasin and Kragon taking one apiece. Pain Shell's gonna come through and taking out Flea. Flawless round for Tundra. They secure that pistol round in the bag. Now gonna be looking to buy and stitch together just another round at least.
Yeah, Tundra managing to take that pistols, putting themselves up at the best possible angle to be able to take this second round in the half and try and claw up that distance. This Alliance going to be on one of the weaker buys that we've seen them on this entire series. But looking the most uncomfortable we've seen them this entire series. But it is defense on Haven, and you can just go for the shotgun. We had an entire meta where everyone would just fire a shotgun and hold an angle. But you don't need to hold an angle with your Lucker. You do have those dashes to be able to get through. But that is a beautiful crab wall going to be pulling Alliance into that line of fire. And Tundra using C-Long to just be able to use those SMGs and Bulldogs to just spray right down, taking advantage of the fact that Alliance do have to be close to be able to make those bullets count. But we've already seen how undoing it can be if you lose members, especially if you want your economy to start out in the right way. Fear has got to be taken out of the way. They know that the Sova is there. Do they know that Lucker is going to be trying to get behind? Nile was waiting. The location has been revealed. Being able to get one. Now you can trade up. Bulldog going to be in the hands of Lucker. Starts to get the spray to go through. Is now going to be snapped right in the middle of an entire angry team of Tundra who have come hunting for the Jett's head. And you have to feel that that was a little bit of personal revenge.
Maybe.
For all of the rounds while Lucker was just waiting with that operator and playing the boogeyman.
They didn't want to give that Bulldog away to Lucker. They want to take it right back. They're like, this is ours, it belongs to us, and that's exactly what they do. They're able to take that Bulldog right out of Lucker's hand. And one thing that Lucker has been really good at is being able to take picks. So you don't know if he's going to be able to exit frag when the spike detonates with that Bulldog in his hand. You don't know how much damage he's going to be causing to your team. But once you know exactly where he is, you know he's low on that HP, I'm sure that Nile is screaming down, 2 HP, 2 HP, you're just going to go for it. Yasin
well,
dashing
not quite the
right
no command, but I mean, Yasin just goes straight in. This is something that Alliance love to do. Just get the spike down onto the B. You have been able to take control of Courtyard as well. Showstopper now going to be into the faces of whoever from Alliance tries to move through Connector. As Yasin, can I just hold this angle? That Judge is going to be so hard to dislodge. The second that you try and peek it, the trade is there. Question is, are you going to be able to stop the defuse? Because everyone on the side of Tundra has actually pulled so far away from the C site.
It was a one-man mission from Yassine, goes onto that side, lands the spike, takes out a couple of members, but the rest of the team just wasn't there. They were trying to get picks, and as I say that, Kragan is going to come through with that Bulldog, and that is a win for Tundra. They're closing that gap, and the map where Alliance looked so incredibly strong is starting to look a little shaky. So going back to that video, they want to bring their B game, and they said that that would be undefeated. So is this their C game? Is Alliance going to be leveling it up? But Yassine just looked so strong, using that Nebula for cover. Once someone starts pushing onto that B side, you're already ready for them. You have the Judge in your hand, you have the plant down, you use a Showstopper to clear, you use the Paint Shells to use it and clear C-Link, you use a Showstopper to clear A-Link, you know you got that side all to yourself, you're more than comfortable going for it. The rest of your team is looking for picks left, right, and center. And once the players are going to start coming through, they're able to pick them off on that rotation.
I mean, you can already see the respect that Tundra are giving. The sheer amount of utility that comes through onto A-Long and the off chance that Lucka is holding over with a Marshall. Cider has been able to wrap around. It's Cider who's been going for these really long wraparounds, not Hype on this map, and it's been finding mixed value, but you have been actually able to dissuade Tundra from being able to move safely forward, as Alliance are going for a little bit of a regroup. If it is an A push, they're allowing them just a little bit of space. Zik still sticking around in tunnel just to get a little bit of information. Remember, the KO can use those flash drives. So if it is a full team push onto the A side, you can delay the plant from coming through, as Alliance now starting to move towards that mid, wanting to cut Tundra off, seeing that they're not on the A site, want to try and get the spike! Unfortunately, the shots aren't actually able to hit. Both Yassine and Neely will be able to get those three members, rather, out of the way, as the C now entirely barren. Zik will fall, and Tundra, with the patient play, are able to take another round and equalize.
Equalizing the scoreboard must be a little scary for Alliance. The map that they picked, it's the map that they wanted to play on, is the map that they have been looking the strongest on so far. And Tundra is just snatching it right back from them. Initially, it was looking like this was going to be a very quick game from the side of Alliance, but Tundra, they're giving them a run for their money, whether it's the lurks that are coming through, whether it's the flanks that are coming through, whether it's just brute forcing it onto side. They're kind of taking a page out of Alliance book in that sense, and so far both of these teams, they have been adapting very quickly to each other's gameplay. Hype is going to be pushing out incredibly aggressive. He's gonna find the first individual. The Rolling Thunder is going to be invested as well. Not going to connect. Zik, however, does take out Bunker. Completely blind. Gonna throw out the knife. Delayed him that much further. Blind's gonna come out as well. And Tundra is gonna be forced to back off and rotate towards that A side with 2 members left and the spike. But it looks like Alliance, they're gonna be welcoming them with open arms.
Yeah, Rolling Thunder not going to be there. They use it to try and grab mid kills. But they will be able to get Zik. That is all they'll be able to grab, though, without that breach ultimate. They're not able to brute force their way onto the site. They're not able to displace Alliance long enough to get away from being contested as they move out of sewer. And I mean, the big difference maker, right, that we've seen that has allowed Tundra to close up the distance has been that Lucka has not been able to get as free a rampage as we saw in the first half of this series. With the operator now in hand, and no Rolling Thunder available for Tundra, you do have to question how aggressive Lucka is going to be chancing his luck, and you can already see him posturing up C-Long. Wants to go for a little bit of some early contact. Not only that, but find a lot of information, but you do have to appreciate that Tundra have actually left players to make sure that they can punish. In fact, Lucka has been concussed, can't move, has to use the Clyde burst, is flash pointed, dashes away. Punishment entirely evaded, and so much utility burned out of the side of Tundra. And they still haven't been able to decide what side they want to push, because the only point of contact that they've actually seen is the Jett.
Managed to take out Zik in the process, but as you said yourself, that's a lot of util that they have burned so far. They haven't managed to get any space onto any site, really. Hype, once again, pushing out really aggressively. Seen him do this last round with some success. Now it's whether or not they'll be expecting it, and Kragon was expecting it indeed. 9 HP left, but still the numbers advantage is slowly dwindling for Alliance. Tundra looking to extend it just a bit further, and all the util that Hype was bringing with the Cypher, it's now gone. They can just walk through those tripwires. It doesn't really matter. There is no camera to give you any information, and
time counts,
like to see.
They've got 21 seconds left. Showstopper invested from Yassine. They have to get onto the site quickly. Fear is actually holding Hunter's Fury. The second that you get the information, you can try and send the Sova ultimate to delay the plant, and there it is, cutting through. No one on the side of Tundra can get the Spike down in time. Tags up the Sova, but Spike is down. And Hunter's Fury has not been able to find what it was looking for. Bonka has actually wrapped all the way through from Garage and is able to cut out Lucka. No Jett going to be there, and you can really tell that Alliance were banking on that Hunter's Fury being able to stop the Spike from going down. They thought it would win them the round. And Tundra breathed a big sigh of relief as Hunter's Fury removed and another point in the bag.
Yeah, as the plant was going to be coming down from Bonkar, it looked like the Hunter's Fury that Fee was pushing out was gonna delay that Spike, but it just wasn't enough. Did a little bit of damage, had a couple of tags, but wasn't enough to really put Bonkar down. 5 seconds on the clock though, and it was really taking. We've seen this coming through from teams a couple of times before. They let the clock run down, they get one pick somewhere on a different side, they rotate towards the other side of the map, and this time for Tundra they made it work for them. But knowing Alliance and how good they are at adapting, it could well possibly be that this is something that they are looking to use against Tundra going into the next round. And there's a timeout being called by Alliance. I think this, I'm assuming it's Alliance, not entirely sure just yet, and I think this is something that we expected. Was a lead from Alliance coming into this map. They look really strong. They look like, okay, yes, this is exactly why they picked Haven. This is why they wanted to play it. But once you flip the script and they are on the defensive side, they just aren't using that util to really delay the pushes from Tundra. Tundra, on the other hand, they're just swapping between playing it really, really slow and taking their time and getting finding a crack in the armor here and there and just pressing the W key and running right onto that side, brute forcing it, getting that plant down and leaving again. So Alliance, not really sure what side of the coin they're going to be getting every single round, and although they have some aggression that they're trying to make work for them, there's so much util from the side of Tundra to just really punish any of the players looking to go forward, specifically as we saw Lucker last round with an Operator. They had the Breach, the Flash, the Knock-Up, there was Nebula coming through as well, followed by the Pain Shell. So if you want to go aggressively, there's a lot of util that you need to dodge.
Oh, it's a buy. Alliance gonna be buying as much as they can afford. As Thea still is forced to just keep a Sheriff in hand. Smatterings of armor for this team. And they are just trying to make sure that Tundra don't get onto this site nice and safely. 0 Point gonna be forcing all of Tundra away. Suppression coming through. All they can do is try and fire through that smoke in the hopes of picking up a player. As Hype not wanting to be displaced quite so easily, they do want to burn a lot of that utility away from the side of Tundra if they want to be able to push into that space. Lucka wanting to get aggressive. He's going to be looking for players. They know he's there. They know he likes to push through mid, and they are going to be waiting. A crossfire set into position, but you managed to get Bonka out of the way. Cypress comes through, looks away from the flash. Another Cypress comes and he gets through the door! Yassine falls! And that is going to be absolute dire straits for Tundra, who are now forced to take a fight in Courtyard. They can't really go for that spike because Lucka will just capitalize and shoot them in the back the second that it comes through. Neural Theft even invested so that you know where they're playing from.
Last player standing. I have retrieved the spike.
Hunter's Fury coming, the Neural Theft coming through. Again, they're going to be able to spot out the last player from Tundra. They know that they got the spike, and Machina, not really the player this game that we expected to be going on those trips. We expected to go for those flanks, for those lurks, but so far he's really made it work for their team. Feed has managed to pick up in lane, that's a win for Alliance. They did, however, force into this buy, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they're gonna be able to buy next round. But Machina,
I want a replay of this.
it was
Lucka gets away with murder. The fact that you stay there, then you get the wallbang onto the raise, and then you use the Neural Theft so that you know that it's safe to shoot Kragon in the back. That is just absolute beautiful synergy coming through, and you can tell that the timeout was basically Alliance just saying, okay, Lucca found so much value just going forward aggressively that Tundra had to take a big step backwards and deal with that aggression and use that utility. That again, Alliance are just placing Lucca into these very early points of aggression. In fact, they're even buddying Lucca up with Zik, so if you try and push on to this Jett and punish the fact that A-Long is in firm control of Alliance, you're going to get flashed out, and Luck is going to be able to line up the shots, use the dash, get up close, and really capitalize on that status effect. As now Tundra feel very much funneled towards this B site where it is going to be safe. As you can see, Alliance just swarming through. And Zeke's there to meet them.
Hunter's Fury already managed to pick up one pick for Zeke. Although gets one, not enough as Machina takes off 3 as well. As now looking like a 2v4 for Alliance, and Zeke, he's making it work. He's got that flash, and although it's gonna be flashing Millie, doesn't manage to take out the kill. Zeke is right on his tracks. He's looking to extend this lead even further. They are in the double digits, and they don't want to give Tundra that same comfort. They want to take that away, take away as many rounds as they can, put their economy in shambles even. That is the play. If you are forcing Tundra onto an eco next round, sure, they can buy a match point, but it's gonna be a little bit more difficult for them to close it out.
Zeke's gonna get a lot of information.
So is the
no one's in
ultimate.
back corner. Null Command's actually gonna come through, allowing Alliance to get onto that side. Bonker has been suppressed, can't use the shock dart to try and stop this diffuse from coming through. Zeke is able to find one, able to find the second. Bonker, remember, suppressed, had to try and go for the fire to stop that spike from getting diffused. And Alliance denied Tundra getting the double digits. I mean, we talk about looking forward to the matchup between Hype and Kragon, but hats off to Zeke. This guy has been playing KO and putting on an absolute masterclass of the agent.
Yeah, manages to win that round with an ace. He is everywhere and nowhere at the same time. You don't know where he's going to be shooting out from. You don't know where he's coming from. He gets pick after pick after pick. Covers his team so well, using that util, just flash and running right in. Now, Tundra's going to be forced onto an eco, so this is either going to have to be a thrifty or it's going to be match point for Alliance, and although they're going to be able to buy on that final round, there's already that aggression coming through. Lucker has spotted out one player, doesn't know that Yassine is right there, but that is Arcade as he spots him out right away. 2 players from the side of Tundra already down, and as he goes to the Cypher cage, that's another player. Nearly is gone, has to really, but Zeke has got his back, and this is exactly why they have been buddying them up. Letting them push out on A together. Spike is down. Machina's the only one standing with that Guardian. Has to make it work. He's gonna be swarmed from left, right, and center. And as he tries to get a couple of picks, a Flawless is gonna come through from Alliance as he takes Machina right out. 12-9, and it looks like Alliance has got it back together.
Yeah, that timeout coming through, you can see that Alliance are just so much more organized right now, and Tundra are going to hope that the timeout is going to have the same effect on them, that they're going to be able to find something that stops them. They try to just send the full team to pin Lucca down. You can even see the Cypher cage was just invested so that they could look for Lucca and punish. But unfortunately, Cypher cages don't stop bullets. And Lucca is confident and safe enough with Zik behind him, ready to use those flash drives, to use the fragments to just absolutely stop you from being able to get on top of that Jett and punish the fact that Lucca can go for those very early aggressive angles, that Zik with those 0 points can get such a good read of information so that Lucca knows whether it's worth holding that angle as well without having to put yourself into line of fire. Whereas Tundra, ideally what they want is a rolling thunder. You can throw that to disrupt both of those 2 players. If they'd had that, then they would have been able to throw those towards ramps and get on top of them that way. And I feel like that's why we're seeing Alliance be just a little bit more cautious in terms of their positioning. They know that the breach is going to be close to that ultimate, and they don't want to make sure that they have that easy access, that very quick angle to be able to use the ultimate and just absolutely deny Lucca that way, because Alliance know how valuable this duelist is to their composition as a whole.
Yeah, and as Lucca is able to get those early picks, it seems to continuously be translating into winning rounds. So definitely Alliance want to keep Lucca alive at any means possible, and Tundra just looking to slowly push onto any side. Does spot out Machina's forehead, but the knives don't connect just yet. And it's looking like Tundra is going to be going for either the garage play or more onto that B side. One of the sides where they've had found most of the success. And Kragan is 1 point away from his rolling Thunder. Aldrin going to come through and it's going to tag out Lucker. The KO knife disabling just that util that they're going to initially be throwing at garage. And it makes Tundra reconsider whether or not this is the play they want to go for. As when we're looking at Nile, seems to be more comfortable towards that A side. Looks like that's exactly where he wants to go. And the team seems to be following suit. Aldrin is going to call out Yassine in window. And this is the Cosmic Divide. We've seen this time and time again. It can either really work in your favor or do the absolute opposite. It's a double-edged sword. And 30 seconds on the clock. Tundra does have to make it work. They do get spotted out. Hype also does get spotted out, and he knows later that he is going to be in heaven. He's gonna get dropped, and although he gets hit, the spike is going down. A couple of knife picks, and he doesn't. Yeah, he gets one, but that's about it. Bonkard gets through the trade. Fee gets one himself, and the Cosmic Divide from Alliance also being invested. Lucker and Zig taking one apiece, and Machine is the only one alive with 35 HP. The Fee takes him right out, and that's going to allow Alliance to come through with that defuse so comfortably securing the map. It's going to go 13-9 for Alliance.
Defenders
I mean, I didn't think we would find any more of an oppressive buddy system than a Jett and a Sky. And then KO got released. And oh my goodness, when you pair those two up, it's just art. It really is. There's not a lot you can actually do to displace the duo. Like, you can try and contest the Jett by moving forward aggressively, but the KO is just more than happy to use the 0 point to make sure that you can't use your abilities, you can't smoke off the operator, you can't smoke off Lucker, you can't actually get towards Lucker because the fragment just gets dropped, so you have to just take a big old pause on the W's, and pretty soon then you're going to be sent to respawn the hard way. And if you try and just out-snipe them, then the fragment is there. Not the fragment, the flash drive. And you get flashed, and Lucker still is able to hit the shot. And it really does just feel like Tundra were trying to figure out how they were able to move around that you really could see they tried to contest along so many different ways, and then they sort of just gave up on it and decided to try and take different angles. But the problem was that Zik was never really in the same position multiple times in a row. He would always sort of have this sixth sense of knowing when they weren't pushing A long and being so close to B and getting that controlling garage where the KO utility just comes out once again and forces Tundra all the way back and sets Lucker up to just come in for these really stupid, silly flanks where he finds so much value because the Jett, with that extra mobility, is able to get into these fights fast enough that they're still going on when you actually arrive, as opposed to something like a Viper or a Cypher who doesn't have that mobility and has to take the long way around and can sometimes arrive a little bit too late for impact.
Yep, the duality here, just a duo coming through from Lucker and Zig. I think initially we haven't seen it coming through at the early stages of the defensive half for Alliance. I think this is something that they were missing, but once they called that timeout, they were really able to pick up the pace, and well-deserved MVP from Lucker. He did so well on that Jett. He made so much space, created so much pressure, and just got a lot of aggressive plays that worked out in their favor. Kragan on that breach, I think, also another phenomenal player, and honestly both of these teams have played incredibly well today. They've really shown us how far they can push each other, and honestly I'm just looking forward to the next map.
You know Breeze is gonna be wild. It's going to go for so long, but I feel like we could see a very short Breeze if Alliance decide to run the same thing, because the problem that Tundra face is that they finished Haven still not knowing how best to deal with the Jett KO combo. And heading over to Breeze, you can still run the Jett KO combo. And Alliance surely have seen how much value those two agents were getting. And not only that, but that it was shutting Kragan down. Tundra's main entrance has always been a focus of, we are going to use the breach utility to get onto site. The breach utility is going to make sure that everyone is flashed and fault lined and concussed, and we can move forward safely. And then the KO just comes in with the 0 points, suppresses the breach, forces Tundra to have that hesitation, the passiveness that then sets Lucker up to just come in and and clean house, not being able to brute force your way onto one of those sites allows Alliance to control the tempo, the pacing so much. And you saw on their attacks, right? The most success that they had was when they just went straight for the site, when they were able to get onto the B site as quickly as possible, get the spike down, and then pull back for that post-plant situation. And it was a lot more impactful when it was a KO doing that than when it was a Raze doing that.
Yeah, and Raze was the only duelist also being run on the team, similar to the Jett, but a little difference in terms of the mobility. But just gonna see how this is gonna be playing out on the next map, which is going to be Breeze. But before we jump into that game, we're gonna head over to a really quick break, and we'll be right back with you.
I think what stands out the most is Alliance's performance so far. And you have to look at the Sentinel, Hype, right? He has such a great performance.
He just needs to connect on the shot now. Spotting, not going to come on top. Hype, able to deliver one, make that two as well as Polby follows suit. And now we're back to the 2 versus 2. Marshall in hand causing problems. Spectre in close, 1-2. Looking for the third, not going to be able to find it.
Himself as well. Can't take use of that. Spring out. Calls for resistance. And that will come in as well. Ever so greedy. Hype has to reveal his position there, but there's a crossfire setup, which is marvelous at this point. Very difficult for them to cross through. Dash from Devil onto the site, quickly punished back. As Hype still looks to regress. Headshot bound. Robbie, they know where he is. Pre-fired. Hype, my word. A pixel play. My word, as soon as they try to get control. But here comes Hype. My word. Try to hide, you cannot. This guy's a ninja. Haven't quite closed it out in time. The information's been given, therefore spending the player to look behind. But this is Hype moving across the side, even with a resurrection, delivers a coup de grace. But not quite finding success. Hype, duty of the backline. They line up for him, as simple as ever.
It's already numbers advantage from the side of Alliance. No command going to come through as they're going to throw out the flash, and Hype gets a 2k from it. Zik picking up the final member of XL, and that's a flawless round coming in for Alliance. The rest of Alliance to pick up a nice kill as Mo gets the first and Hype gets another, gets a second. They are on the hunt.
Oh, look at this Hype. Hype can TP back to Korra. That's insane.
Oh, that is massive. One quick kill going their way.
Gets the contact. Hype.
Oh! Denied? Yasmin somehow finds one. They line up for Hype though. Spectre is all he needs. Try to concuss them at where they stand. Oh, they line up for Hype. Zik comes in for the side swing. Yasmin is their next plan. They seem to be able to do so, but Yasmin finds a shot though, so the shed, that's 2. Hype! Hype! There is a 2 kills, finds a third as well, my word! Your name is Hype, and you live to that name as well.